We are finally out of 2020, and it's time to make good on that resolution to start learning the cello. Since we're still in the middle of a pandemic, however, I'm here to give you a quick 3-step guide on how to get started today online. If you're completely new to learning a musical instrument, figuring all this out can be pretty overwhelming, and it might even stop or delay you from moving forward. I remember when I started learning cello from scratch 13 years ago, I was completely clueless about string instruments, and everything from finding my first cello to finding my first teacher felt pretty random and haphazard. There's a lot of information out there, so I've tried to simplify it all for you, and we're going to start with how to get your equipment. So equipment is a subject that can feel pretty scary and intimidating. It doesn't have to be. So let's just talk about what are the absolute essential things you need to get going. First thing is you'll need a cello, obviously, and you'll need a bow. Okay, those two are obvious to everybody. The 3 accessories I think are necessary. You'll need rosin that goes onto the hair of the bow. You'll need a rock stop. This is the kind I like, where it attaches to the leg of your chair and it will anchor your cello so that it doesn't slide around on you. Okay? Finally, I really recommend going ahead and getting yourself a music stand. So here's at least a portion of the music stand I have. The one I use is by K&M. It's a little more expensive, but it's really, really well built, and I think it's worth it. So I'll have links for all these below. So the 3 accessories are things that you would just go ahead and purchase. But let's talk about what to do about the cello and the bow. For the vast majority of people, I highly recommend renting first. So for your first option, you could go ahead and rent from a local shop. For example, here in Los Angeles, I would recommend Benning Violins. Currently, they charge $65 a month, and in that you get a cello, a bow, and a carrying case. Different stores will have different prices, so just look around and see what you find. I think there's something really great about working with a local shop. First off, if there's any problem with your rental, it's not going to be hard to, see them and get it sorted out. And also, if this turns into a lifelong passion, you want to have people, experts near you that can kind of help you when problems come up or if you need to change instruments, anything that happens in the future. So I would say if you can, go local. So for the second option, if the pandemic has you pretty understandably nervous about going to a brick and mortar, you can always just get a rental cello and bow online. I would recommend sharmusic.com. Their most modestly priced package right now is $52 a month roughly, and that gets you a cello, a bow, and a case. They'll deliver it right to your door. So we've got your equipment sorted. Let's find you a teacher. I would say hit up your connections, family, friends, anyone you know who plays a string instrument, has a kid studying a string instrument. A personal recommendation is a great way to go. If no one comes to mind, don't worry about it. The next thing I would do is just type cello lessons and your hometown into Google and see what happens. So if that doesn't bring up anything that seems too promising, one of the very few nice things about this pandemic is that most teachers, including myself, are teaching primarily online these days. So you can just go ahead and try to find yourself a good teacher who's not even local to you. Just remember, the most important thing here is to go ahead and get started. So hopefully at this point you'll have about 2 to 3 candidates. Let's decide how to pick one. I think the biggest consideration, and go ahead and ask them, is basically if they have experience teaching adults, and if so, what is their method? What is their style for teaching adults? Is it different from the way they teach kids? As someone who specializes in teaching adult learners, I know I have a vastly different approach than for when I teach children. So just a small example with children, I think 50% of the time is just focus, attention span. Like, can you focus this long? With adults, it's totally different. I find it's often talking more about ergonomics and physical tension because those kind of issues crop up early and often. I also pick different teaching materials. So I'll just mention a couple right now because I think they're wonderful. One is Piatti cello method. They're beautiful pieces. It doesn't sound like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, so you really feel like you're playing real music. And they're written in duets, so you can get the experience of playing with another person right away. The other one is Rick Mooney's Position Pieces. It's just an excellent book. It's really comprehensive, and you just get a great understanding of the left-hand positions. So those two, excellent ideas for an adult learner. Okay, so you found your equipment, you found your teacher. What can you do today to get going? Okay, so when I started from scratch. I couldn't read sheet music, and I also had a completely untrained ear. And looking back, those two aspects really held me back and slowed my progress. Okay, so I have links to two exercises below. The one is like a flashcard link for note identification. You just see a note, so you can say that's G, that's F sharp, that's B flat, etc. Okay, a couple minutes a day. The other link is for musical intervals. So an interval is a distance between any two notes, and you want to be able to recognize that distance and say, okay, that was an octave, that's a perfect fifth, that's a major third. Before you even get your hands on that first cello, please get started on these two things. You won't regret it. One more thing I'm pretty proud of, actually. I just came out with a course, an online course. It's called Cello in 30 Days, and it's specifically designed for you, the adult learner, to get the best possible start. It's comprised of 30 sequential lessons that will take you all the way from not knowing how to hold a cello properly to being able to play 3 different pieces and 4 different scales with a beautiful tone. And for those of you with hectic schedules, it's on demand, so you can take a lesson anytime, day or night. So if that's something that interests you, please check out the link below. So in conclusion, it is totally possible to get a great start on your cello dream online in the middle of a pandemic.